And welcome back to the Open Mic Broadcast Network. It's the radio guy, Dr. Mike French, and I have on the line with us for this SWAC baseball tournament preview none other than the baseball guru himself, Coach Olin O.P. Parker. What's going on, Coach?
Oh, man, this is SWAC tournament weekend, man. Actually, it's conference tournament weekend all over the world. I happen to be in Birmingham this weekend. Got a chance to see that lovely SEC complex that they have just for the SEC. So let's roll.
Okay, so with all that being said, man, the let's say placements have been established, the matchups are made, and it's time for, I guess, we don't even need to go over the weekend it was it? Because it's pretty much set up to dust. And let's just move forward, man, and go with what we got, man. I'm anxious to see how you're looking into this week's edition.
Oh, man, Mike. So what I'll do is I'll go with my final top 10, and then I'll get right into it.
Good.
So as my top 10, I got Prairie View coming in at 10. I got Southern at 9. Maryland Eastern Shores at 8. North Carolina A&T at 7. J-State at 6, Texas Southern at 5, FAMU 4, Cookman 3, Grambling 2, Bama State, Gate the Wire. Gate the Wire, Mike. As we stated earlier. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that they've been true from day one.
Yes. As we stated earlier, it's SWAC tournament weekend. So let's talk a little bit about the matchups and my forecast and things of that nature. In your 9 o'clock game, you got Texas Southern versus FAMU. In your 12 o'clock game, you got Bethune-Cookman versus Southern. 3 o'clock game, Bama State versus PV. 6 o'clock game, you got Grambling State versus Jackson State. Now let's talk a little bit about history of the SWAC tournament, Mike. I look back on in the last 9 years, how did you do in the tournament? And I'm not including none of the Florida schools because they wasn't in the tournament, which is proved to be a juggernaut in all of this because we don't know the history of playing in the tournament. But what we do know in the history of the tournament, that in the last 9 years, Bama State record was 23-12 in 9 years. In 22, they were 4-0 SWAC champions. In 21, half of their team had COVID, so you couldn't give them a good representation there. And 19, they were 3-2 the runner-ups. In 18, they were 3-2. In 2017, they were 3-1 SWAC runner-ups. In 16, they were 4-0 SWAC champions. In 2015, they were 1-2. 2014, they were 3-1 SWAC runner-ups. 2013, they were 2-2, which will have them at 23-12. So how hard would it be to count those guys out of the tournament?
You cannot count them out, and that's a very impressive track record, which lines up with their regular season record that they have. This has been by far the most consistent program in the conference, man, and you can go even further back the last 9 years that you've gone. They've had that might as such, and what was always baffling, I wouldn't even say baffling, we know the challenge that they have in football, and this is probably one of the, it's no probably to it, the best budgets in the conference. You got Alabama State and Prairie View, and as a TV guy, my frustration has always been they're making it happen with their baseball and their their Olympic sports, and I want that same satisfaction from PV Nation, but that's a whole nother scenario. But we talked about it last week. I talked about it over the weekend show about their dedication to a D1 schedule. They got a inside track to Puerto Rico, but you still got access to good quality ball all year around, man. And it's been proven, and it's not just a fly-by-night with that organization.
Not at all. Like I stated earlier, I was in Birmingham, and I was watching some tournaments. there's a plethora of kids that want to play college baseball. And for this being opening week for select baseball, there's a ton of kids, man, in the state that want to play. And I can understand why everybody I talked to said if Alabama State wasn't ready for the SWAC tournament, they would definitely be in attendance. So that goes back to my old thinking that if you don't get out and make your school known, they're not going to just come to you. Also, I heard they have a beautiful camp that they do. And you know what happens with a camp? There's kids that want to go to the winners. So
right.
If you're not doing those type of things, I can't see you being successful as a college coach.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so kudos to Alabama State and everything that they've been doing. And, of course, we always focus on the football and the basketball, but we're baseball guys, so this is our, as I said, that we're honed in on that. And so they get an A+, man, for all the success that they've had on and off the diamond.
All right, so moving on. Jackson State, their overall record in the last 9 years is 20-13, surprisingly. You know, they went 0-2 last year. In 21, they were 3-1 SWAC runners-up. In 19, they were 1-2, 18, 2-2, 17, 2-2, 16, 2-2, 2015, 2-2, 14, they were 4-0 SWAC champs. 13, they were 4-0 SWAC champs. So I wouldn't just discard them. You know, they had a bad year last year. The year before, they were 3-1. In 19, there was no season. And you know what happened in 2021? The whole home run by Southern, the guy going through the gate. So we're not going to elaborate on that, but they were right there. And me knowing Omar, when it comes down to the SWAC tournament, those guys can be ready to play.
No doubt, no doubt. And one thing we got to give him his credit. He got these guys peaking at the right time of year. I know me in particular, I kept scratching my head. I was like, this was so strange to see Jackson at the situations that they were in. But, man, they waded through the water, and now they're hitting the tournament. I'm not going to say the hottest team because you got to give Alabama State and Grambling their kudos, but they're in that upper echelon of hot teams entering into the tournament.
Well, Mike, you said a mouthful. I went back and checked their roster from last year to this year. It was pretty much a new roster, and when you have a new roster, it takes the team a while to gel, and seem like they're gelling at the right time. And I'm not going to be surprised at all if they defeat Grambling in that first round.
Well, that's been my sleeper. I said of all the matchups, what I've been looking at, even though one has to be a 4, the other has to be a 1, when you throw that out the window, man, and if I were a betting man, not that I would, we don't promote betting on here, but I would put my money on Jackson State in that first round.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to move on to PV. PV, 2022, they were 1-2, 21, 2-2, 19, 1-2, 18, 1-2, 17, 2-2, 16, they didn't qualify, 15, 0-2, 13, 2-2, 14, 2-2, 13, 4-2, SWAC runner-up. Their overall record is 13-16, so it's going to be kind of tough on those guys, man. They can't seem to find that third win, but it starts off with game 1. You got to get game 1 a W to end up playing game 3.
Yeah, it's probably of all the teams, not that it's not a probable chance, but it seems that Purdue's going to have the toughest road getting out of round 1, opening up against Alabama State. And stranger things have happened, but looking at, they did salvage that final game of the regular season against Grambling, but we talked about how Jackson are peaking at the right time. The Panthers are sinking at the wrong time of the season. It's like they're backpedaling into the tournament, and that's not always, well, it's never a good thing to experience going into postseason play, but it's got me wondering what exactly is going on with the rotation. The hitting has not been timely. They've been on a search hunt for runs. Man, they can't get the bats together, and it's too deep in the year. to have those type of woes.
Absolutely, Mike. I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, like you said, they've been backpedaling at breakneck speed, obviously. So I don't know if the kids have got enough in the tank left, or if they have enough faith left in their abilities to come up with a big win. But like you said, we'll find out at 3:00 on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, Southern University in 2022, 3-2 SWAC runner-up. In 21, they won the SWAC championship. They went 5-1. 2019, they went 4-1 SWAC championships. 2018, they didn't qualify. 17, 1-2. 16, 2-2. 15, 3-1 SWAC runner-up. 2014, they didn't qualify. 2013, they went 1-2. Now, honing in on the Jaguars, they had to play 5 games in 21, 4 games in 19. You know, when you got to go 5 games deep to win the championship, you're not getting help from your side of the division. You know, I remember watching last year, they had to defeat all the East opponents by themselves. They're going to need some help in making it there, and it ain't going to be easy for them because the opening opponent is going to be kind of tough, Bethune-Cookman. And they don't survive that, they may be playing Grambling on the next day to see who go home.
Oh, that's not because of the losers will face up for that elimination game.
Right.
Yeah, it could be. That's why we've been talking about it. But that first round is the setup round, if you will. Of course, it puts you in that winner's bracket, but it's so much deeper to come from the depths of the losers bracket. And their pitching becomes a very great concern, and so not real abreast to the pitching depth of Southern, but we do know that there's pitching challenge depth on all the programs, especially in the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
Absolutely. The only team I can see that can use any pitcher probably in game 1 and win with the bats is probably Alabama State. They could pretty much set the table for their pitchers early because they feel that they can get after Prairie View with the bats and not use their game 1 pitcher that they have been using on the weekends.
Mm-hmm. And, we talked about that pitching matchup in a couple other episodes. Not that it's Prairie View or Alabama State or anyone else. If I'm managing a team and it's a tournament, I qualify for the tournament, me personally, even if I had to go by bullpen, by committee, my first game, I would not use my ace. I have my ace set for game number 2. And Alcorn proved my theory somewhat in their final series against Texas Southern this past weekend. They did pitching by committee and actually kept the Tigers at bay. The Tigers had to rally late to win that game, but they gave themselves a fighter's chance because of keeping the batters off balance with different looks each inning or each time they brought in a new pitcher.
Absolutely.
So I don't know how they're going to do it, mix it and match it, but most of these guys, they want to go in there with their ace so they can get that first game. But I would go a little bit reversed against the grain in that one.
Yep, I can see that happening, Mike. But as we noted earlier in the year, obvious the East was a lot stronger and played better baseball than the West. I think the West, all of them are kind of in the same spot. There's no dominant team in the West. Unlike the East, your fourth East team could be as good as the number 1 team in the East easily. Like you said, they're gelling now. They're ready to play.
Yes, sir.
Moving on to TSU. This is interesting. In 22, they were 0-2, 21, 1-2, 19, 3-2, 18, 4-0, 17, 4-0, 16, 3-1, 15, 5-1, 14, 0-2, 13, 2-2. So from 15 to 18, they were the SWAC champs 3 times and the runner-up 1. But that was the teams he had then. This team he have right now, I'm not seeing much fire out of him. You know, I've seen him play a couple times on TV against the bigger opponents, and most of them went like this year. It came against non-D1 schools. So now you're asking the challenge of playing D1 schools of your caliber, and I don't think they're ready to play FAMU, you know, just because of their scheduling.
Okay, so that's going to be a game of interest for you in that round one series, FAMU Texas Southern.
Absolutely. I think FAMU is more battle-tested because of their conference and the schedule they play. They hadn't played a D2 school or any IA school, so I think they'll be readily more prepared, you know, than TSU would. You know, Mike Robinson has a history of doing well in the SWAC, but, you know, when you're playing small ball all the time, in the big games, it's not going to get it all the time. You know, if you're down 7 runs in the second, third inning, you're going to take that small ball away. But you can't give up out just to get guys moving over. So
now, one thing, I'm gonna come to the defense of Coach Rob and other programs. I know you are adamant that D1 programs play D1 schools. No other qualms about it, and especially when we're talking about the RPI for the conference as a whole. But just hear me out before you start jumping on me real quick here. Baseball, as we've identified on a collegiate level, is unlike any other collegiate sport because, yeah, we need the big, fast guy, but I can still create, even though we just talked about small ball and manufacturing ball, with smaller baseball IQ guys. And I think there's enough in the pool where you can put together a competitive program year in and year out. And even though you might be playing some D2, D3 NAIA schools, would you agree that there is talent on any level? Is the difference is the depth of talent available versus whatever level you're in? Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely, Mike. Hey, there's some NAIA schools and D2 schools that can play at the D1 level. For instance, instead of playing your HBCU NAIA schools, play LSU Shreveport. Play those guys, the guys in their conference, the guys in the Red River. That's more of a challenge. If you play those schools, then that'll kind of like back me up off you. But when you're playing the NAIA schools with a little budget that forfeits most of their games, that's not good. That's not good credibility on a win to me.
Okay, fair enough. So I will agree to disagree to a degree, but we can see the benefits from both sides. Because when the dust settles and you got some scouting history, if the fella can ball, he can ball. And he gonna do his thing regardless who he's facing up against. Now, once again, the depth is the greatest difference because I used for an example on last week's show that the pitching staff of Prairie View compared to Texas A&M, it's like night and day because of the depth that they have. We don't have that luxury of going 15 arms that can go 90 plus coming out the bullpen. If we get one that's at 90, we gonna treat him like the lost scribes and try to showcase and highlight them at every time. But that's where the philosophies and game management comes in. But that's a whole other thing. But I didn't want to get you off track though. So you see that Texas Southern might have a struggle against FAM in that first round.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Not even close.
Not even close.
Not even close, Mike. You know.
Okay.
You prepare for the tournament, Mike, and they played a tough in-conference schedule. You know, playing Alabama State 6 times, Bethune-Cookman 6 times, Jackson 6 times. That's preparing you for this game. You know, like we duly noted that the West was obviously a lot weaker than the East. You know, yeah, Alcorn has snuck in a few wins, but where's the credibility in playing Alcorn 6 times? You know, they snuck up and beat Southern a few times and a couple other schools, but there's no credibility there. Now, you look at the other side with Valley, you got a first-year coach at Valley, but he beat Alabama State. So that's some credibility there.
Okay.
So I'm going to move on to Grambling State. Grambling, and 22, 1-2, 21, 2-2, 19, 3-2, 2018, 3-2, SWAC runner-ups, 17, 0-2, 16, 0-2, 15, 2-2, 14, 2-2, 2013 did not qualify.
Okay.
Needless to say, Mike, and it's obvious that they can't find a way to get to 3 wins consistently. If you can't get to 3 wins, 4 wins, 5 wins, you're not going to come close to winning the tournament.
Right.
Like we said in that first matchup against Jackson, if Jackson beat them, it's tough. It's going to be tough because you're either going to be playing SU or Bethune-Cookman.
Okay.
That could be an early exit home. I mean, they've won the head-to-head against Southern, but all the games are almost a one-run game.
Okay.
That brings you back to the history of playing in the big dance. Southern has a history of being there a longer time than Grambling when they're playing in the big dance. Right.
Well, we talked about the pressure that Alabama State would have coming into this tournament. Would it be, I guess, safe to assume that there's just as much pressure on Grambling entering into this tournament, knowing with the history that you just laid out? Yes, they are the number 1 seed in the West, but they've been topsy-turvy up and down throughout the history, and these have been some quote-unquote stacked teams, but when it comes to performing in postseason, they've been short on the measure.
Right. Well, I hate to keep saying it, Mike, but all games wasn't played on the west side. East played majority of their schedule. I think they played all their games. So the validity in there of a true champion, Grambling are the true champions. They lost the least amount of games. And duly, they won more games than everybody on that side. But when it comes to the level of competition, Mike, you got to be ready. You got to be ready when it comes to playing, in the SWAC tournament. Another thing people didn't realize, Grambling has an awful record when playing in Georgia. I think they played FAMU 9 times and won 1. I think they're like 8-1,
Okay.
So there's a history there. They played FAMU this year. They went 1-2.
Wow.
So the chances of competing against those guys gonna be tough. You went 1-2 against the 3rd-ranked team, and really you're 1-8 against the 3rd-ranked team on the other side. So
yeah, that's really pretty interesting, man.
Congratulations on winning the West, but now you got to face the beast of the East.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's going to all lay out starting May 24th, 9 a.m. I'm excited, man. I like I said, I'm a baseball guy, and this is such a great time of the year. You get to see the best that we have to offer within the conference, hash it out there on the diamond like it should be. You can put all your smack talk to the side and go out there and flash that leather and swing that stick and see what the end is going to be. Now, when we look at this and we know what each team brings to the table, if we took away the bats, defensively, what would be your top 3 teams coming into the tournament? Let's go 4. Your top 4 teams coming into the tournament defensively. Let's not even count the bats.
Alabama State, Bethune-Cookman, Jackson State, FAMU.
All Eastern teams. My goodness.
Yes.
Wow. That's saying something, brother.
Yes.
That's saying something. And that's something I'm truly going to be making notes and mentions of Man, this is some good stuff, brother. This is some good stuff. You got me fired up, man. I know I ain't got no eligibility left that God gave a gerbil, but make me feel like I can at least go in there and pinch hit or DH for a little while.
Well, I tell you what, Mike, we'll see how this podcast goes, because I'll definitely be at the tournament on Thursday. I was going to go Wednesday, but I want to let the dust settle and find out where the winners and losers are. And I'll be there on Thursday. But I know you're kind of scratching your head about, why do I have Jackson State listed if we took the bats out? I saw those guys play against Southeastern and Hammond, and it was a 0-0 game all the way until the 8th inning. So that tells me a lot right there. You can go to a Southland opponent and hold them to 0 runs for a long time. That's saying a lot. And that's with your midweek pitching.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And, we know just like anything else, when you get in the tournament, so you're going to see the best of the best, and you might go 0 for 3, but I got to go 3 for 3 in that fielding opportunity, and I got to make those plays count. And so we know that Wednesday will get started, but we're looking forward to the report from you on the Thursday events, and from then on, as long as you're at the tournament, man, and I hope you're up to getting back with me, man, throughout the course of this week so we can continue to lay out this baseball talk.
Right, we could do Thursday through the championship, buddy. I got you covered by the book.
All right, well, man, look here. It's always a good time to get together, and it's fascinating. And since we're going to be meeting a couple more times, we're just going to sign off for right now for this episode. And by the way, it is Monday, May 22nd, 2023. Coach OP breaking it down only like he could. Coach, let me give you some closing thoughts, man. We wrap this segment on up.
Just to let the listeners know, I am a Grambling State University graduate that was drafted. I'm not a hater at all. I'm just calling straight fact. I can be reached at olinparker65@yahoo.com. If you'd like to phone me, 318-436-9688.
All right, Coach Olin Parker. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince, and for those who may not know, I'm also a PV graduate, and we just lay it out there. We present the facts and let the facts speak for themselves. And with all that being said, you can follow me on Twitter at The Mike Prince Show. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. And until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.